Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Moishe Gubin here. Awesome to have you. So you've been behind, so many different companies. I probably can't even name them all, but one of which is Strawberry Fields. Strawberry Fields is, you guys have a ton of different healthcare operations, healthcare facilities. I think it's over 12,000 beds, and maybe even I think 15,000 at this point. But you've been able to help a lot of different people out in that space. And you have a bank, and you've been very charitable through the bank and helping people over there too. I know I've heard from a lot of people the benefits of that. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So how did your passion for business, for entrepreneurship, wanting to be somebody who would lead companies, like how did that interest begin?
Well, I think it's natural. Right? Somebody's either a natural born leader or not a born leader. And I think my mother used to tell me that I used to, and I remember this actually, second grade, I'd get a $5 a week allowance. I'd go into the local candy store called Tati's, and I'd buy a bunch of 5-cent candies. I'd go to school and I'd sell them for 10 cents. And I'd come home and I'd double my money and I would go buy more candy and I would keep selling the candy and doubling my money. And so like it was a natural look, reality is I was built to be who I am. And my father made us my first job was a paper route at 5 years old. The funny thing about that is that my father, when he did it when he was 5 years old, which is why he made us do it, is he was doing in an apartment building where he wasn't leaving the building. He was going floor by floor and taking an elevator up each flight. By the time where we were living in the Jewish neighborhood, there was no apartment building. It was walking through a neighborhood at 5 a.m. And half the time, my mother would be driving the station wagon with me and my brother on the back of it, delivering papers.
So,
But yeah, it's a work ethic. It's a combination of stuff. But yeah.
so at a young age, 5 years old, you were pretty entrepreneurial already.
Well, I wasn't born. I wasn't raised and born privileged. We were. My mother was living with four males, and it was very loose. It wasn't a very strict household, and we were all able to develop however we wanted to develop. And in my case, I probably had the most adversity from my siblings. I went from being religious to not religious, being religious again. I had the full range of, you know, functional, not so functional, the whole nine yards. And so for me, it's fortunate. It's fortunate. There's a bunch of spots in life that you can look at and say, well, if it wasn't for this event, things wouldn't have turned out the way they turned out. And it's all fortunate that it played out the way it played out. I mean, I I I I have the most respect for the people that have helped me in my life. And in fact, when we rang the bell in the New York Stock Exchange a couple of years ago for one of the companies that I founded, and we took public, I had the night before at Century Grill, not Century Grill, Wall Street Grill, like a block away from Wall Street. I had like This Is Your Life. I had like 75 people from my past, and we went through it. Like I had someone that I went to elementary school with, my first job, my first banker, my first lender. I went through it, and really, I wanted them to know that without them, I could never have been where I am. And it's good. It's good. We're very optimistic and happy.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good to be that way. You got an education, college education. You're also very entrepreneurial. You could have been very successful even without a college education, potentially. Like, how do you view the importance of having a college education today?
Yeah. I mean, look, if you really believe that it's divine and I would have been successful no matter what, then you could say that. I know that my college education played a key role in what I did. Most important out of everything there, other than you have the fundamentals that taught me how to lead, right? Charismatic management, relationship marketing, vertical integration. These are all things that had us, turned us into what we are. But I mean, yeah, but I think the biggest concept, I'm a CPA. I mean, time value of money is how I probably did the first 10 deals. I mean, I went to an unsophisticated seller and I'm like, look, you want $10 million. Your thing's really worth $8 million, but how about I give you like 7 million and I'll pay you out like 2 million over 5 years. knowing full well that the discounted rate of that money really only is like 800,000, and I got a good deal. They didn't understand any of that, and I'm like, look, you'll just get ordinary income, and you'll have a paycheck for the next 3 years or 5 years, and you'll sell it to me for less. You'll pay less taxes. You'll be in better shape. Now, I would never have known that data. Forget about me having an ability to lead or make deals, whatever. But I never would have known that data if I didn't understand time value of money and have Professor Pikus at Toro teach me corporate finance. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, that's key. The deals weren't as simple as, okay, I'm willing to pay this, and the guy agrees, and then I write him a check. It was not that simple, right? I mean, you have to know that, and you know what? You don't know what helps you develop. My kids went to Skokie. Well, my son went to Skokie Yeshiva, and when they went to Skokie Yeshiva, they thought that the school was not such a great school, and I said, you don't realize all the values that you're getting. Forget about the fact that a class is a joke, and you're not getting the full hours worth of data. Like that most of the time it's a waste of time. But what you're gaining is all this stuff on the side that you don't even think about. The kinship and the camaraderie and teamwork and polite professionalism, discipline. These are all things that institutions teach you. And going to college, at the time I was working a 12-hour day, and I was still in school a little bit outside of that, learning Jewish stuff. And I went to school the most tired guy in the place at 6 o'clock at night, having already been working for 12 hours that day, and have to stay awake for 5 hours and then study for tests. And guess what? I was like, every time, even till today, like I'm, old faithful over here. I'm reliable. I show up. I was there, and I graduated. I graduated with a decent average too. It wasn't. I was proud to never have done an ad drop in college either. Like I didn't say, okay, this teacher's too hard. Let me go find a different teacher. Cappy Gilmore, the guys play it as it lies. I literally accepted whatever it was and just ran with it. And that's my career too.
So what made you interested in like getting into the REIT space specifically? Like why that area?
So the REIT space it's really accidental. I mean, the starting point when I graduated as an accountant, and I decided to enter the workforce in the accounting world. Before that, I was in the catering business for many, many, many years. My whole childhood, I worked almost every free second of my life, and I still do, unfortunately. But the where am I?
About where you started.
Yeah, I will remind me of the question.
You were talking about the CPA, how you and you entered into the space as CPA, and then we were talking about
Oh,
REIT.
so yeah, so I came home one day, decided I'm going to go work in professional world instead of catering. I went and I applied for I applied for like 1,000 jobs. In those days, there was something called WinFax. I sent out my resume on a machine that and again, you don't even know what that is, probably dial up modem, and send out the resumes to 1,000 people. And I got 3 job interviews. I took all 3 job interviews. I got offered all 3 jobs, and I ended up taking a course in life, which was I ended up taking the nursing home path, and I started as an accounts payable payroll bookkeeper in a nursing home. And as you will go through my career, fast forward, you get to a point where I now own a bunch of nursing homes, and we have real estate that has locked in embedded equity that we couldn't tap. And so we said, okay, well, how do we get to that equity so that we can buy more assets and lease it out? Because really the money is made on the tenant side. The landlord REIT side is a very fixed income, stable investment, and a very stable product. Again, accounting information, accounting degree, very helpful to understand that whole concept. Understanding time value of money, the whole 9 yards. Anyway, so we realized somewhere that, you know what, we need to separate out the real estate and the operations. So we did that, and we have separate governance, the whole 9 yards. I have a conflict of interest because I care about both sides making money, because I'm a partner on both sides. Not all the time, but often. But outside of that, my responsibility is to the landlord, and that's what I run. That's what I do for a living. And so we realized, look, at that time we were an LLC. As an LLC, the REIT structure doesn't matter because they're both treated as a partnership. It's the same accounting standard. But once we took money in Israel, we were number 14 ever to post a bond in Israel. Once we did that and we became with really internal controls, internal audit, we had Grant Thornton, we had Mazars, we had Deloitte as our auditors. Like we were really such a professional organization. All the governance was in order, audit committee, independent directors, the whole nine yards. So I said, you know what? We're already at the point where we're running a public company. We might as well take the company public in America, and then we'll elect REIT status because that's what we are. We are a real estate company, and that's where it came from. It's really ancillary. It was not like I didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to be a REIT one day. Like that doesn't make a difference to me. It's and the funny thing is when you look at things and you always, introspective and you're looking back and saying, whatever, at the end of the day, my love for my companies, I still love I love my partner and the business that we have there, but my heart doesn't lie there anymore. My heart lies today at Strawberry. My heart lies today at the bank. My heart lies today at a couple other businesses that I have my heart in. And it's funny because this is something that I never thought. And even better, I saw Professor Pikus, who now became dean of Touro College, and he was at my daughter and my son-in-law's graduation. And I said, you don't remember me probably, and I'm not sure if he did or he didn't. But no, I think maybe he did. But the thing is about him is I said to him, I said, but it's funny. I got a C minus in your class. Every other class I got an A, A's or B's. Okay, I never got any grade below a B, like a B plus or something, or like a B. But his class I got a C minus. Okay, and he till today says it was charity that I gave you that C minus. I knew you were getting married and whatever. And I said, how funny is that? The grade that I got, the class that I got the lowest grade on in my whole college career is what I do for a living today. Between banking and the healthcare REIT, it's all corporate finance. It's exactly what I do. I float bonds. I take companies public in the marketplace, and it's just ironical how things play out, But it is what it is. It's all good.
That definitely is funny. It's funny
Yeah.
how that happens. But so how did you get into the banking space? Like, and you have this like interesting relationship. You got the bank and you've got all these other companies. You can even potentially finance your own companies. Like, how did you get in the banking space and what do you like so much about it?
Well, the thing about banking, so most things that I invest in are usually either me helping somebody or there's a synergy between some other businesses I have and that business. And then I say, you know what? If I'm a partner there, I could bring all this business to it, and it'll just boost the like top line revenue, and right away, the numbers look way different and the valuations change. So really, we're in the money day one because I pay X, bring the value day two, and then day three the valuation is X plus X plus whatever X whatever that number is. And so the bank was really a friendship deal. I had a bookkeeper. Her name was Delane, and she had quit from me at the time when I was a nursing home operator, and she had quit from me as a receivable bookkeeper because she got an opportunity to work at a nursing home in HR. And I wish her the best. Nice lady, single mother, make more money. She called me to tell me, and I wished her only good things. And we stayed friends. It's literally a year later, 1 o'clock in the morning, my phone buzzes. Okay, I don't sleep a lot. My phone buzzes and it's Delane. I'm like, what's the matter? You call me, you're texting me at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, we just bounced our payroll. I need my old job back. And I'm like, really? What the hell? And she told me that, it's a mom and pop operation and they bounced the payroll. And she's a single mother and she can't live without a stable paycheck. So I said, okay, Monday you'll go to 95th and Halstead. We have a building called South Point. You'll go there. And then, by the way, what's the name of that building? And literally, like the next day, I chased down who the owner was, and I put on a suit and tie. Which today I'll never wear a suit and tie again. Maybe for a wedding I'll wear a suit, no tie. And I went to the guy who God rest his soul. He had a law firm in Glenview on Patriot Boulevard. in Chicagoland, and I camped out in his lobby waiting for him to see me. He made me wait like 4 or 5 hours, and then he invited me into his office, and we hit it off. We became the closest of friends. And it turns out that that nursing home was built by him and his partner, who was his best friend, and his best friend killed himself, 40 years later, and a lot of stress in their lives and the whole nine yards. And he was broken over it, but he didn't want to sell the home, but he knew he had to sell the home. And as part of that deal, other guys would have given up, but I was persistent. Like, he would call me up and say, "Hey, I'm ready to give you the keys. You're not going to believe what my controller did." I would get in my car. I drive 3 hours. I get to his office. I had to change her heart, but while you're here, let's watch the basketball game. And next thing you know, the guy had me as a yo-yo for like 2 years. And every time I call my partner and say, "Michael, we're finally going to get Lakeview," and he goes, "You're crazy. That old man ain't ever selling." And so somewhere in that mix, I had told him my hopes and dreams. And at that point, my hopes and dreams that was like circa 2008, was that, at this point, I already had the thought in my head. I already created the first Strawberry Patch Olive, and I already had Strawberry Patch Bet, and I knew eventually the Strawberry Patches will become a Strawberry Field. And I basically said to him, I said, honestly, my biggest concern is that, I'm this schlubby Jewish kid that went to Touro College. Like, I didn't go to Columbia. I didn't go to NYU. I didn't go to some fancy school. I'm not clean cut. I have a mess of a hair on top of my head. I don't tuck in my shirt. I wear Crocs, try not to wear socks, never wear a tie. And I'm like, I don't know if the public or the marketplace is going to take me seriously. And he says, "Well, why don't you join my bank board?" And by then I realized he was the chairman of the bank. I didn't know that. And he's like, "Well, why don't you join my bank board? I can use a guy like you on audit committee. You're a CPA and you're a financial expert according to the SEC and the NASDAQ." And I accepted. And then once I accepted, so I'll fast forward for you because we're going to run out of time. At the end of the day, what's special about the bank is two things. Number one is, at that point, I knew nothing about banking. Okay. And I took the job so that I can bolster my resume. And I used to like literally put the call on mute, and I would be doing everything else but listening. And I ended up listening. I ended up saving the bank by raising money. And so what makes the bank special is two things. Number one is that out of all the businesses that I own, it is the only business that I have where I was elected by my peers to be the leader. Everywhere else, I buy the company, I show up, I'm the boss, and everyone bows to the master. And that works. And typically, I think I'm a decent guy to work for. I'm certainly friendly, and that works. But when it came to the bank, it was literally a December of like 2009 or 2010, and the chairman, his name was Sam, stood up and he gave a whole speech in front of the whole board. And somewhere towards the end of it, I realized he was talking about me. And he said, "And Moshe is our savior." And effectively, I resign as chairman of the board, and I appoint Moshe as the chairman. And that was the first time that ever happened to me. By then, I was already coming a week, a month to the bank in Florida. I mean, this is good weather anyway. But I never went to the beach. I finally just now went to the beach for the first time. Now that I live in Florida, first time to the beach in 20, 30 years of visiting Florida. It's crazy.
It's enough.
I rented a bike and we rode along the boardwalk. Nice. Anyway, so that's one thing that's special, which is I was elected by my peers. And every time that I've tried to resign, everyone's like, "You're our leader, lead us." And it's a nice feeling to know people respect me. And I'm not saying it's deserved, by the way, but it is how it is, and I feel good about it. So that's number one. Number two is that this is a business I didn't know at all. And I'm a sponge. I learned everything about this business, and I'm good at playing stupid all the time with regards to people. But reality is, I'm a student. I'm always a student. I'm always learning. And in this case, we've learned the banking business pretty good. And there's no mistaking that today we put out earnings where and we got upgraded. We got upgraded with a new price target by a company following us. Like we had our best quarter we've ever had. We're in a metric
That's amazing.
of top banks in the country as far as return percentages. All of our growth percentages are bigger than everybody, and we're killing it. Legitimately, we're killing it. I mean, and I'm proud of that because just as easily, I never would have known this business, and I never would have done this business. And now I'm like, quietly and trying to be humble about it. I don't. Me telling this stuff, it doesn't sound so humble because you're asking me these questions. So I have to give you the answer, but the reality is, it's we're showing up and kicking everyone's tuchuses all over the place by doing a better job or better customer service. We I'm not sure a better product because a banking product is a banking product, but we're certainly making better money and giving better service, and we have a better following, and we're loyal. And that's why till today, now the thing about Optimum it's become part of my identity. If you walk through the neighborhood where I live, people know me as an Optimum guy. That's OptimumBank. That's that guy. That's all. I don't have a first name anymore. It's like it's that guy. He's OptimumBank. Or Strawberry Fields. So that's the other one. But and it's cool. It is what it is.
What do you want to do now? Like, what are some things you're aspiring to do from?
You know what? For the last 5 years or longer, my biggest goal is to simplify my life. Honestly, this is not what people want to hear, I'm sure. But reality is I play too important a role in too important thing in too many things that in theory I should be able to be replaced, even if it's not as good or somewhere near as good or two people. I should be able to be replaced. That it shouldn't be me doing that work. And if I could figure out how to eliminate my role and all I end up being is politician, fundraiser, face of the company for 5 companies, and then just get rid of, because I still deal with way too much detail on way too many companies, and I keep track of all of it. But I get a little forgetful here and there. Today actually was to be a bad day for me anyway because I'm sick, and your body doesn't work so great when you're not feeling well. So, but yeah, I mean, really, every company that I have has to continue to grow. But outside of that, I'd like to simplify how many verticals we have, and right now, and there's always a push for companies to work better together between each other. So like the fact that our bank is doing great is wonderful. And the fact that we do AR lending for nursing homes is great. So now what's helpful is that now my REIT, Strawberry, has tenants that we could refer to the bank, and then the bank could give them lines of credits, and we could open up bank accounts for them. And like they work. It's a synergy, right? And so we have to figure out how to deal with that. Right now, we haven't done anything. We worry about the regulator thinking that there's somehow an identity of interest or some kind of something nefarious going on. And so we haven't figured out exactly how to present that to say, because it's not, but it doesn't look it now, even though it may look at to something related party, it's not so great. But reality is it's as clean of a deal as it goes. I don't know. So that's my goal. My goal is to make life simpler. I like to spend more time with my wife, who I am in love with. I'd like to go and hang out with my grandchild. I became a grandfather 2 months ago. So I like to spend more time. I'm literally out of town every single week. Last week I was in New York. This week I'm in Chicago. Next week I'm in Vegas. The week after that the week after that I'm in Florida again for Thanksgiving. Week after that I'm in New York, and then wash, rinse, repeat. And I'm running around all over the place. And look, the stock on my bank hit the 52-week high yesterday. Friday this morning. So like we're doing something right. We're making a lot of money. Company is good. There's no scandals, Baruch Hashem. Life is good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was all the questions that I think we'll be able to get to right now. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think you've done a lot of good for a lot of people, and what you built is pretty impressive. It's considering also the background that you've had, how you didn't have a lot of these opportunities handed to you, and you were able to build this up. So I hope your schedule gets a little easier and cleaned up, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
I think a simple statistic is when you look at all the companies globally, we have over, I think, 18,000 employees and over $3 billion in sales.
Hmm.
Like I feel like the Godfather movie when we say you're bigger than AT&T or bigger than Ma Bell, whatever they said in the movie. Like feels good. It feels good, and we're proud of it. We do business the right way. We have good reputations, which is what matters, right? We're going to die someday, and we want to be able to be known that we were decent people. We took care of people. Exactly what you said.
100%.